Damian Lillard just did the unthinkable. After being traded, stretched, and discarded by the Milwaukee Bucks, Dame is officially returning to the Portland Trail Blazers, the only team he'd ever called home before that fateful trade. It's not just a feel-good story. It's one of the most unexpected game-shifting moments of the entire NBA offseason. And honestly, it might be one of the coolest plot twists we've seen in league history. But this move isn't just about nostalgia or unfinished business. It changes everything, from Portland's long-term plans to how we view player loyalty to the very structure of rebuilding in today's NBA. So how did we get here? Why did Dame really come back? And what does this mean for the future of Portland? Let's break down how this historic reunion became reality and why it might be the start of something much bigger than we think. When Damian Lillard was traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, the goal was clear: win now. It was a blockbuster move, pairing one of the league's most lethal scorers with Giannis Antetokounmpo in a title or bust season. For a while, it looked promising. Dame had moments where he looked like his old self. Clutch threes, deep pull-ups, flashes of vintage brilliance. But it never quite clicked. Behind the scenes, Dame struggled, not just physically, but emotionally. He was far from his family, far from Portland, far from the city he poured his soul into for over a decade. And then came the injury. A torn Achilles, one of the most feared setbacks in all of sports. Suddenly, Milwaukee's all-in bet became a long-term liability. The Bucks, facing a massive contract and an uncertain timeline, made a cold, calculated decision. They waived and stretched Dame's deal, spreading the money over several years to create flexibility. In that moment, it felt like the end of an era. Dame was teamless, hurt, and older. Most people assumed his next stop would be Miami or Boston, some contender where he could chase a ring on a discount deal. But Dame had other ideas. For weeks, the speculation ran wild. Would Dame finally land in Miami, the team he originally requested during his first exit from Portland? It made sense. Warm weather, a win-now culture, and a need for a shot creator. Or would he join Boston, a title contender that could afford to wait out his recovery and unleash him next to Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown a year from now? Both scenarios were floated heavily, and honestly, they made basketball sense. Dame could rehab in peace, then return on a contender hungry for another deep playoff run. But then something unexpected happened. Whispers started to emerge about Portland. Most people shrugged them off at first. Surely Dame wouldn't go back there. It didn't make sense. The team was rebuilding. They had moved on. He had moved on. And yet, the rumors persisted. Because this wasn't just about basketball. Damian Lillard never wanted to leave Portland. Not really. Sure, he requested a trade, but it wasn't out of ego. It was out of frustration, a desire to compete, to win before it was too late. After years of loyalty, watching star after star leave their teams to chase rings, Dame finally made the painful decision to move on. But Portland was always home. His family stayed there. His kids were rooted there. And Dame himself said the adjustment to Milwaukee was one of the hardest things he'd ever faced in his career. It wasn't just about basketball, it was about identity, comfort, purpose. So when his options became open again, Dame didn't look at just rosters, he looked at where his heart was. And even though Portland wasn't offering a guaranteed title shot, they were offering something no other team could: a return to the place where it all began. And the Blazers, they welcomed him with open arms. Not only did Dame return to Portland, he signed a real deal. This wasn't a veteran minimum ride the bench and retire kind of contract. It was a multi-year agreement with a no-trade clause. That's right, Dame now has the power to control his future in a way few players ever do. This deal wasn't just symbolic, it was strategic. It gave Dame long-term security. It gave the Blazers a veteran presence without completely destroying their cap. And most importantly, it gave Portland something even more valuable than flexibility. It gave them identity. For the first time in years, the Trail Blazers had a face again. Not a rookie, not a prospect. A legend. Their legend. And the best part? They didn't even have to sacrifice their rebuild to get him. While Dame was gone, Portland got to work. They stopped chasing quick fixes and leaned into youth. They drafted Scoot Henderson, a hyper-athletic, high-upside guard. They gave more minutes to Shaedon Sharpe, who flashed serious scoring potential. They traded for Denny Avdija, added size with Donovan Clingan, and started building one of the sneakiest young defensive cores in the NBA. And then, they got better. The numbers late last season were promising. Their defense ranked near the top of the league over the final stretch. Their ball movement improved. The chemistry clicked. Suddenly, the rebuild didn't look so far away from relevance. And then came the bombshell. Dame was back. And just like that, the timeline shifted. Now they weren't just developing. They were building. They were climbing. And they had a clear goal again: contention. And Portland didn't stop with Dame. They made another bold move, acquiring Drew Holiday, a proven winner, a defensive menace, and the kind of veteran who brings championship DNA. The Blazers didn't just want to honor Dame with a nice farewell tour. They wanted to compete. They wanted to build something that could last, not just this year, but in the seasons to come. With Holiday's toughness, Dame's leadership, and a young core brimming with potential, the Blazers started to look less like a bottom feeder and more like a sleeper threat. It was subtle, it wasn't flashy, but it was real. Of course, everything hinges on one major question: what version of Damian Lillard are they getting? An Achilles injury is no joke. It's derailed careers before, and at Dame's age, returning to all-star form isn't guaranteed. But here's the thing: Dame doesn't rely solely on explosiveness. His game is built on skill, on IQ, on shooting. Even if he's lost a step, he'll still be a deadly shooter. He'll still be a locker room leader. He'll still be Damian Lillard. And maybe, just maybe, a year off is exactly what he needed. Here's where it gets crazy. Portland traded Dame 2 years ago and got a treasure chest of assets in return: Scoot Henderson, Toumani Camara, draft picks, cap space, and now they have Dame back. Let that sink in. They traded their franchise player, got young pieces and picks, let someone else pay the bulk of his contract, and then got the same player back for a fraction of the cost. This almost never happens in the NBA. The only comparable moment: LeBron returning to Cleveland in 2014. But even that had more to do with championship windows and legacy. This question mark: this is different, this is rare, this is historic. There are actually rules in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening. Normally, if a team trades a player, they have to wait a set amount of time before reacquiring him, especially if he was waived or stretched. It's designed to avoid wink-wink deals where a player gets moved, cashes out, and returns later like nothing happened. But in this case, the stars aligned. Dame's injury changed everything. The Bucks didn't expect it, Portland didn't plan for it, but when he became a free agent, truly and legally, the door opened. And once it did, there was only one place Dame wanted to go. So what does this all mean? Is Portland now a title contender? Not quite. Not yet. But that's not really the point. This is about something deeper: loyalty, legacy, and storytelling. The NBA isn't just about rings. It's about identity, culture, moments that matter. Damian Lillard returning to Portland isn't just about basketball. It's about rewriting a narrative, about returning home, not to ride off into the sunset, but to build again. It's about showing that loyalty still has a place in today's NBA. And most of all, it's about reminding the league and the fans that sometimes the most unexpected stories are the most beautiful ones. Dame's journey isn't over. In fact, it might just be entering its most compelling chapter. He's back in Portland, surrounded by youth, fueled by redemption, and ready to write the final act of a legendary career. Will the Blazers win a championship? Maybe not. But what they're building now, it matters. Because when Damian Lillard takes the floor again in a Portland jersey, it won't just be a comeback. It'll be a homecoming. And we'll all be watching.